the base measurement of what is occurring now and moving forward over 6 months on side streets to Lake Drive. Concluding when?
I said every 6 months for 18 months.
For 18 months. I was missing that, thank you.
What locations?
I have down on side streets to Lake Drive because there was.
But she mentioned parallel
I
streets
mentioned
too,
Shorewood, I think Paul said Beverly, and I said Downer.
which is a parallel street, but not going into.
Side streets and parallel streets to Lake Drive.
I mean, I'll note that these neighbors, when there's a lot of traffic on Lake because of an event or an accident, what neighbors have said to me is all that, if there's some kind of blockage on Lake Drive, it all comes into their neighborhood. And actually there were letters where people saying, instead of going my usual way, I'll turn on Capitol and go up Downer. There was even a letter where someone specifically outlined how they were going to divert through neighborhood streets rather than be on Lake. So I'm just saying, you know, I think, I feel that it would be a responsible way to ensure that we are, the decision we're making on Lake is not just creating an impact on that neighborhood.
Thank you for the clarification.
Call the question.
Any other comments? Okay. So I'll call the question on the amendment to the motion. All in favor of the amendment to the motion?
I'm sorry, are we giving any public comments before we?
It's just the amendment.
Well, we could do it at this point. Just gonna try that.
If you want, you're gonna do the amendment and then?
That's what I was going to.
I'm fine that way, I just wanted to make sure I heard.
Okay. All right. All in favor of the amendment to the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay. What was that?
5-2.
5-2? Okay, so the amendment fails on the 5-2. Okay, now we're going to move into the other one, but we haven't taken public comment yet from folks out there, so would anybody like to comment on where we're at this point? Yes.
Yeah, just so I understand.
First of all, give your name.
Yeah, I'm Brad Simmons. I live north of Lake Drive,
What's your address?
4061 North Lake. So I'm in a good place, and I'm completely on board with reducing the lanes. I live there, I see it. I'm a little bit curious on the communication south of Capitol. Yeah, it's just sort of a head scratcher. I don't know why the person who did the study isn't here tonight. He was, unless I completely misread it.
He's available by phone. He actually broke his, fractured his.
He should be dialed in. And we hired him, right?
He had a restriction that he could not drive.
He should be dialed in.
And he's available by phone. I could
He
call
should
him
be
right.
dialed
I
in.
could call him right now.
And unless I'm a reasonable read of people, and he was completely on board with south of Capitol. And I know there's some random one-offs, which I get and appreciate and I respect, but this study's been done, as far as I can tell, and the increase in volume is insignificant. And I think, are you potentially talking about repaving, restriping, and then considering doing the south side of Capitol?
No.
That's not out there, okay.
Well,
But an 18-month study, I mean, I heard this getting done.
We just said no to that.
We just said no. 5 of us said no.
Good. And it should be.
Thank you for helping me clarify for a minute.
But yeah, because I got a little
that's
turned
now on
on.
a 5-2 vote.
Good, appropriately so. So and I don't know how many of you were there at the meeting, which is well done. It was overwhelming consensus to do the south side. So, and again,
And
this
the
is not-
engineer agreed.
And the engineer, I mean, my impression was you're silly if you don't, was my takeaway. And again, I'll tell you, I'm North Lake Drive, my mission's been accomplished, but I just, as a taxpayer, as driving the street as much as anybody, I bottom line, I think it's silly if we don't seriously consider south of Capitol. Thank you.
So, yes.
Thank you.
Craig, oh, wait, yeah.
I apologize because I was busy typing when you were talking. Could I just get your name and address again?
She's got it.
Oh, she does? Okay, all right, thank you.
Go ahead.
So Craig Sebacanis, 3816 North Lake Drive, so I'm on the surprised that we would consider doing this in only half the village.
You're on the cusp.
I'm on the cusp, and, you know, and not once mentioned in the dialogue here is the original reason for doing it north of Capitol, which is to tame speeds. And so part of the traffic that is driving, taking a left turn and driving fast down side streets like Shorewood Boulevard, they come down our street at excessive speeds, on average 8 to 13 miles over, oftentimes 20 to 25 times over. If they're in the right lane, it's the need for speed. And the reason people are nervous about that traffic heading into the arteries, as I heard them called, is they slow down from 50 to 40 or from 45 to 35, and they think that they've slowed down. They're 10 miles over the speed limit as they turn left onto Shorewood Boulevard. And so my house faces Shorewood Boulevard. I'm sort of stunned because a lot's been made by the Bicycle Safety Committee about the idea that, you know, somehow there's more traffic on our side. We heard the guy who did this study say, I would do it for the whole village. The amount of traffic north versus south is statistically insignificant. His words, not mine, on Wednesday. And so, you know, I look at it and go, why wouldn't we paint the lines and make adjustments? I'd be in favor of no left-hand turn lanes on Shorewood Boulevard, and as far south as you want to go during peak hours. And I'd be, you know, my neighbor not far to the north, I'd be fully in favor of that. The traffic that is turning left is resident traffic. I'm not taking a left on Shorewood Boulevard when I'm on my way somewhere really far north like Brown Deer Road. Let's take that traffic, put it on the highway where it deserves to be. I mean, it seems so obvious to me. And why I really want this is off-peak hours, we get a bicycle lane and a bunch of safety so my kids can bike to school on Capitol Drive. You know, in the off-peak hours, there's no reason to be in that right lane. When I'm leaving tonight in the fog, people are flying by 15 miles over the limit. It just, you know, let's do it all at once and make smart adjustments to protect all the people, you know, on the inside of our village. When we set an example of how to drive as they enter the village, I think we'll find traffic change positively across as we move, you know, westward. I think it's silly to do the expense of additional studies, draw this out, count traffic. I think the village is smart enough to make these adjustments as needed. And I support all of them. Let's tame traffic. I think that's like the thing that is underlying all of this.
Any other comments?
Craig, do we have, do we have the spelling of your last name?
I have it.
Yeah.
Oh, you do, okay.
I have both
Okay,
of them.
perfect. Okay, good, okay.
Yeah, I know who they are, so.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry. It's a long road.
And I'm David Jubileer, I live at 4425 North Lake Drive, so again, the north section, which has already been decided, but I agree with living on Lake Drive and seeing the traffic and the patterns and the unsafe situations they create on a daily basis. I completely agree with everything that Craig just said related to the south end of Lake Drive as well. I would like to ask one question, just related to everything that's being considered here. So just to clarify, the way I understand it, a decision has already been made north of Capitol related to the reconfiguration of the lanes. And what's being proposed tonight is that additional outreach be made to residents in the village to make a determination on the south end of Capitol Drive, with the thought that that will be determined prior to the resurfacing taking place in July or August. When the bid package goes out, could an alternate be put in the bid package then that would include restriping the south end also? So as this process is taking place, the bid package is already ready and we have the numbers and we could then make a determination?
That's been discussed and we don't really need to have the alternate because
The cost is
cost
insignificant?
I would argue it's less
Great.
expensive. I would argue it's less
Even
expensive
better.
to keep it
Okay.
consistent.
Okay, great.
Just gut.
And even at that, it's pretty insignificant.
I agree.
Insignificant
It's not
compared
material.
to the cost of the project.
Can I respond quickly? So I'm from the Penn Bike Safety Committee. So thank you for coming to the meeting
Can you
tonight
state
and
your
the
name,
previous
please?
one. Rachel Ellerman. I live on Newhall, nowhere near Lake Drive. But we did, after the public meeting, we did hold a meeting. We talked about the surprising support for south of Capitol. We actually called the gentleman who had done the traffic study on his way home and asked him questions about how we would extend it. The biggest concerns are around that Capitol Lake intersection. He did feel it was feasible to extend it, that's true, and we asked some questions about how would we start that lane reduction, like at the border between Milwaukee and Shorewood, and we found some good options there. We talked a little bit about the Capitol Lake intersection and how we would configure that. He was not certain that the DOT would support reducing it to one lane moving through that intersection. He was not certain they would. He said they might, so we don't know. So the combination of that uncertainty and the different scenarios that we posited to him, many of which were feasible, but we were not sure, and the fact that we hadn't communicated with everybody south that would have been impacted is the reason we suggested we wait.
I got a different read from him that night. I really felt like he was like sort of a no-brainer.
Well,
You gotta be careful on taking a right on the Capitol as you're heading, off of Capitol on Lake as you're heading south. You have to respect that, I get it.
Yeah.
You may have to leave a nice runway to get there, but and maybe he changed his tune or it sounded better. My impression that night was like, different than yours with all due respect.
Yeah, no, and that's fine. Once we started positing these specific scenarios is when he started to wonder. So we said, okay, if you're gonna be one lane all the way coming south, do you have that right turn lane from Lake onto Capitol? Is that a right or a straight, like it is now? Or does it stay a right-hand turn lane? And then if it's a straight, you have to have a 2-lane section just south of there and then another merging point, and then you've got some inconsistencies.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's when he started to say, if you do that, I'm not sure the state would support it, at which point we started to feel uncomfortable.
Any other comments from folks out in the audience? Trustee?
I'm not sure that the public understands also that we restripe every year. So we're going to restripe, we're going to resurface in 18 and stripe, and then we will also resurface in 19. So
Restripe.
I'm sorry, restripe. And so it's not like there isn't an opportunity to do the north part in 18, see if there are, maybe people will find there's no diversion and we don't get any complaints. Maybe we get a bunch of complaints and a bunch of people who are upset about it on some of the streets off of Lake. I don't know. We will have to see.
How will you know, I'm sorry to interrupt, how will you know? So south of Capitol is still 4-lane. How will you know if there's going
I'm
to be
saying
diversion?
if we do the north part and we wait to talk to WSDOT, get, very clear answer time from the traffic engineer, get Pennebike Safety to come forward with a definitive, then I'm just saying taking it one step at a time does give the village a little more opportunity to see if the concerns of some neighbors of yours on Shorewood and Downer and other streets are warranted. Maybe they're warranted, maybe they're not. We would have an opportunity to see that. My amendment was that we have an actual measurement of that, but that was voted down. So I guess we'll have to do it qualitatively with those residents saying, I think there's more traffic on my street. Just like Lake Drive residents have said, we think there's more traffic than there was 10 years ago. We don't have a quantitative measurement of that. We're just going on qualitative basis. So I think we have an opportunity every year to decide on a different striping configuration. It's not like if we don't do it all in 2018, we've lost the opportunity to do that, so.
Trustee Zovit?
Right. Only to be clear that we have not made a decision one way or another south of Lake Drive. There are some of us.
With the motion that you made.
In terms of reconfiguration at this point. We are not moving forward with reconfiguring lanes on the south of the Capitol Drive. I think what you're hearing, to be clear, is that some board members support right now making that change. Others do not. What we have decided to do is to gather more information and involve the public in more communication to make sure that indeed it is appropriate. Whether it being make the change now, wait a year or so, or not make any change.
But allowing the possibility of making the change in 2018.
Can I make a point of clarification? Others do not support
just because there's only two of us at the moment that stated that, I appreciate all the input and I highly value it, and I'm not saying I don't agree with it. So I may 100% agree with it. I think maybe we made it more clear in public safety meeting than at the public meeting. Anybody that has opposition or any factual data or just hasn't had that opportunity to give us their input, because we did not put out a notice about the south side, so I just want to make it clear that I'm not in support of what people are saying about restriping it. It's just the fact that I can't make that decision until we've allowed the proper public.
That's why we're doing this. So we can-
Okay, any other comments? Okay, we have a motion. Does anybody want to do the motion again?
Yes. Oh, yeah, indeed.
Okay.
And what day is?
So, Monday, I'll start with you.
Where are we on the agenda?
Trustee Zobek moved and trustee Rockford